All right, let's go ahead and begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Hiring and Retaining Staff, Your Most Precious Commodity. It's an exciting day at No Kid Hungry because this kicks off our back to school webinar series, and we have two school nutrition rock stars joining us today. I'm Summer Kriegshauser, a senior program manager at No Kid Hungry, and I'll be your moderator today. First, a few housekeeping notes. Next slide, Chelsea. Thank you. All attendees are muted and in listen-only mode. There will be time for question and answer at the end of the webinar, but you are welcome to submit questions at any time by typing them into the Q&A box. The webinar will be recorded and shared via a follow-up email, and it will be posted on the Center for Best Practices website, so you can access it there anytime. And like I said, this webinar kicks off our Back to School webinar series, which will run through September. More to come on the scheduling, so stay tuned for that. But the topics include conducting outreach around free and reduced price school meal applications, launching and sustaining breakfast after the bell programs, adding after school meals to your back to school plans, fostering staff wellness, and much, much more. Next slide, Chelsea. And this is also a plug for the Center for Best Practices, which provides information, tools, and resources all designed to end childhood hunger, all of which can be accessed on the Center for Best Practices website. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speakers for today. We are joined by Donna Martin, School Nutrition Program Director at Burke County Public Schools in Waynesboro, Georgia, and Walter Campbell, Executive Director of Nutrition Services at Charleston County School District in Charleston, South Carolina. Donna, whenever you are ready, you can take it away.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you, Summer. I'm excited to be here with y'all today. I think you're going to get some great information that is going to help you with this very timely topic that we're all dealing with. So just to give you a little district profile, I am a very large rural school district, but only have 4,300 students. We have about 22,000 people in the district, but 836 square miles of nothing. I have 5 schools. We have breakfast participation about 78%, lunch participation at 83%. We offer after school at-risk supper program, snack program. We do the fresh fruit and vegetable grant program. We have a huge summer feeding program. We obviously do breakfast and lunch. We have a free and reduced price eligibility of 100% CEP, and my budget is $5 million. Walter, you're up.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Donna. Hi, I'm Walter Campbell, Executive Director of Nutrition Services. I'm with Charleston County. We cover over 1,300 square miles. We have about 48,000 to 50,000 students. We have 80 schools. And as you can see, we cover everything from, CSFP to Head Start, Early Head Start, Farm to School. We have 400 team members, and we have about a $31 million budget. I'm going to turn it right back over to you, Donna.
Okay, great. So if you need to be recruiting staff, we are all recruiting staff, and it's something that we all need to do year round. I'm going to give you some tips on how to find staff. My first tip is students. This is my favorite tip. We started doing this about 3 years ago during the pandemic. And what I love about high school students is they have great backs. They don't come in and complain about their backs. They don't have any children that are out sick. They don't have a lot of doctor's appointments. They have transportation to and from school, so their cars are never breaking down because they're riding a bus. What they love about working for us is no nights, no weekends, steady paycheck. And so students are my best tip, and they cashier for us. They run pizza machines. They can work in the morning, they can work in the afternoon, prepping for the next day. We work around their schedule, and they're great for summer feeding. My second tip is working with bus drivers and bus monitors. Think about the fact that they get to school at 8 o'clock, they're there, transportation has got them there, and they don't have anything to do between 8 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So why not have them come work for you? They already are getting benefits, they're already get sick leave and all those kinds of things. And so they're looking, and they're not very well paid. So bus drivers and bus monitors are a great place to look for staff. My next tip is retired school nutrition employees. My employees retired and they felt they were going to be basking in all this money, and it didn't take them long to realize that retirement wasn't as great as they thought it was. So I went to the school board and asked for a raise to give my subs that were retired school nutrition employees more money. So I called them all up and said, how would you like to come back and work on the days that you're not going to the doctor or you feel like working? And they have loved coming back because they can work when they want to and the pay is great and they don't have any responsibility. So what is my next tip? It is looking at culinary programs. So you may have a culinary program at your school. You may have a high school culinary program. So those kids are always obviously interested in food production and foods. So see if they don't want to work for you. And then there may be a local culinary program in the area, and you may find yourself a future chef, but you may find somebody that just needs to pick up some money. My next tip is a temp agency. Temp agencies can send you people when you are really desperate or on a regular basis. So that what's great about temp employees is that if you work them and you fall in love with them, usually you can hire them. So you've already tested to see what their skills are like and whether or not you like them. And they have found out if they like you. So temp agencies are great. Next slide. Substitute teachers. So there's a substitute teacher list, just like there's usually a substitute school nutrition employee list. And if they're not being called to work as a teacher, they're probably very happy to come work in school nutrition, and they may wind up being a permanent employee for you because this may be somebody that doesn't have a college degree, can't become a teacher, and this is a permanent job for them, and they're already vetted, they've been approved by the board, and they're already in payroll, which is a plus. The next thing is your parents. You know, your parents are on the same schedule as your kids, and they would love a job that is on the same schedule as the kids. So what I love about recruiting parents is send out flyers in the carpool line or put a flyer in the kid's backpack and send it home. Tell the parents how they only have to work the days that their kids are in school. They're on the same schedule. And lots of times they'll say, yeah, I wouldn't mind coming to the school and working with my kids. I love that. The next tip is advertise, advertise, advertise. I'm sure your school district sends home a newsletter that they send out on a regular basis. Put in there that you are looking for employees. Also, you can do stuff on your website and the newspaper. So if we look at the next slide, it's going to show you some Instagram and Facebook posts. So the one on the left is an Instagram post. It just says, join our team. And it tells you where to go. And people love Instagram. It's very popular and it's free. On the right, we have a Facebook post where it says school nutrition is hiring. We start at $15 an hour, and this is how to get your application. And these are some of the things that you need to have if you're coming to apply. But you can go to these schools, and these are the schools looking for people. So Instagram, Facebook, free, easy peasy, goes out to a lot of people. Next slide. This is on your website. Everybody has a district website. So when you come to your website, if you're looking for menus, why not have that you're trying to hire right there on the website? This is a great way to deal with a cheap, easy way to get the word out to anybody that's looking at your website, looking at menus or people in the community. Next slide. How about doing a social media? This is a school district that did a little YouTube video, and they put it on their social media channel that they were hiring and what the benefits of working for them was. So it didn't cost a lot, and it really reached a large number of people. And you know, you're always looking for staff, whether it's now or sometime in the future. So these videos can just stay on your YouTube channel, and they're very timeless. Next slide. Set up a job fair. So you're probably not the only one in the district looking for help. I'm sure you're looking for bus drivers like the rest of the world. And actually, teachers seem to be getting in short supply nowadays. So find a big place that is accessible to the public and create a bunch of banners and signs and signs that you can put outside and advertise, advertise, advertise. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to advertise. Send some flyers out. Again, send the flyers home with the kids. Put them in the backpack. Put them on your website, put them in the newspaper, but send out a flyer telling them all about your job fair. Next slide. You can put the flyers in meal boxes if you're doing it in the summer, like our summer meal boxes. We can put flyers in there, send it around to churches, put it in kids' backpacks. How about senior centers? You know what? Some of your seniors would be really good cashiers and could do a lot of light work for you and are very dependable. How about your graduating seniors? Send it home with them. Who knows? They may not be going to college. They may be looking for a job and they hadn't even thought about school nutrition. At your job fair, you know, putting out flyers and information and putting them everywhere and posting. And sometimes you can collaborate with a bunch of other people. So these are just many, many examples. And everybody's using these QR codes nowadays, and they're easy to make. They're free to make. So make a QR code that when you send the flyer home, you go to the QR code and it sends you to lots more information about the job fair, where to go, what time, and all the information about your job. And these are just all examples. And you'll get this in your handout when you after the presentation. Banners. Make sure you have a banner outside that says this is the job fair today. We're looking for food service aides. Apply inside so they know where to go. Also, marketing your positions on Facebook and other social media, having the job fair there. So this is a job fair thing that was put out on Facebook. And this is one put out on Instagram. Again, it's free to say that we're having a job fair and to say that they can come on these days, these times, these places. Next slide. So these are signs that you can put out in front of the school or the facility that you're doing your job fair at so that they know where to go, that they're at the right place, and it's great advertising. These are banners that you can put outside or inside or in buildings anyway that are easy to do and send people to your job fair. Next slide. I love this school district did something on TV. They actually got the TV station to advertise that they were having a job fair. It didn't cost them anything. And so that got out to a whole new community that you wouldn't have gotten to with your other efforts. Next slide. I love this. This school nutrition assistant director has a business card, and on the back of her business card, she says, "We are hiring," and she has a QR code. So everybody she meets, she passes out her business card to them, and there's that QR code to go to learn all about applying for a job with them. How about your vehicle? Have you thought these vehicles are driving all over town? Again, put on it that you're hiring and put a QR code on there so people can scan it and learn about going. I think this is great advertising. So some of the other things you can do is you can e-blast to your parents. I'm sure your district has a way of doing that. You can contact the radio stations to put something on there or do an interview on there. You can do an interview with the newspaper. That's what I did. I did an interview with the newspaper, telling them all about the great advantages of working in school nutrition. You get a healthy breakfast and a healthy lunch, and you get retirement, you get health insurance, and all these great benefits. Work with your senior services, any ethnic groups that are in town that may not read English real well, that may not be able to notice your signs to promote your programs. They may be looking for jobs. I talked about temp staff agencies, and then again, graduating seniors. Next slide. So offer a bonus, an employee referral bonus. So if one of your employees finds an employee and sends them to you, tell them you'll give them $100 or $200, even $500, but it might be worth them getting out there and recruiting people. We just this year hired one of my managers, two of her grandchildren. And I don't do referral bonuses, but I wish I could because she sent her grandchildren to us and we've hired both of them. Next slide. So a couple of labor saving ideas that I wanted to throw in here. If you can't find employees, you can always close your dish room. That saves some work. Don't do as much scratch cooking and buy cut up fruits and vegetables or wash lettuce. So just a couple of labor saving ideas. Next slide. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Walter. So once you found them, how do you hire them?
A lot of great ideas. Thank you, Donna. So we're going to stick on this slide for about the next 15 minutes, and we're going to talk about performance management. And so, what comes to mind when you say performance management? Most folks think of, that middle word of performance management, form, and they think, okay, Walter's going to be talking about filling out forms. No, I'm not going to be talking about that. I'm talking about how we run a better organization, and where does that start? Believe it or not, I think that we're all very similar. Depending on the big district or small district, we have a lot of the same issues, maybe not the same degree, but we're the same. We all need people. And then we hire people, but then what do? We hire them and then we throw them into our culture. But is our culture good? And so when we talk about performance management, I think there's 4 things we need to look at. 1, how we hire people. Then 2, how we reward and recognize people. And I think Donna's going to mention that, she already mentioned it. And how does performance management fit in? And then finally, how do we fire people? Because what I see happens is actually does happen is that many of us are notorious for keeping folks around that maybe, just maybe should have been gone a long time ago. And we don't want to let them go. So what we end up doing is we hire people to work around those people. And I know you're saying, Walter, that doesn't happen. I guarantee it happens. And it's a roller coaster that we stay in all the time. And this is why we need to talk about the performance management part of it. And you might be sitting there going, well, is Walter going to be talking about documenting people and the legal issues and dealing with HR and setting performance management matrix? No, that's what we're not going to talk about. And we'll talk a little bit about firing people, but I really want to talk about the end of retaining people, and it starts in a hiring process. And it did remind me of a story when I was running a 10K. And this is, if you come to Charleston, you can run the Cooper River Bridge Run. It's a 10K run. And I prepared for it. I'm running my race. You're not in competition with anybody but yourself. And so I'm out there waiting on the race to start. And I hear these 2 guys behind me, and they're having this conversation. And one says to the other, he says, well, I didn't know you were a runner. How'd you prepare? And he goes, well, let me see. I had a few beers last night. I got to sleep at midnight, and I got this morning, and I did some stretches. And I'm thinking is, no, you didn't prepare. And then I hear him go, well, hey, I think I'm going to, start out fast, level off at the top of the bridge, and then coast the rest of the way in. And I thought to myself, no, you're going to be miserable and you're going to fail. But that happens all the time in our business. You'll have that manager that comes to you at the end of the year, comes to the director, and they'll say, hey, we need this person to go. They've been driving me crazy all year long. And the first thing I ask is, what have you done? And just like that K&K run, they've done nothing. So how can I come in and terminate that person? 1, it's not good for your organization. If you don't set the expectation up front, you're not dignifying that employee. And ultimately, you're sending the wrong message to the rest of the folks on your team. See, what you need to do, like that 10K, is you need to prepare. And preparing comes with performance management. You need to start with clarity and discipline. And it starts in a hiring process. The moment you interview somebody that's when you start really, I would call the evaluation process. If you're going to hire somebody, I think you need to go to the person you're hiring. If we're going to bring you on, this is what we're looking for. And let them know what you're looking for. And this is what our culture is. Okay. You need to have a culture and a purpose. This is the way we do things, and this is why we do them, to take care of our kids. And if you like what you hear, then you're going to fit in. If you're not, that's okay, then don't apply. But what's been happening is, over the last year, I get it, some folks need 200 employees. People have been going, this mental checklist, they've been going, okay, can they breathe? Check. Okay, do they have a car? Check. Am I in dire need? Check. And we go ahead and hire them on. And that's not the way you want to hire. You're missing the boat when it comes to performance management. You need to set those clear expectations in the interview process. You setting the tone of what you're looking for in a new employee. Now, applicants need to know, and I say this to folks coming in, they need to know what it's like to wear your logo and your uniform, because hopefully they're going to be wearing that years from now. And you also, I'll say this to folks we hire too, you want the person that you interview to be the same person that shows up on day 1 and day 2 in your school serving your kids. And that bears repeating. You want the person you interview to be the same person that shows up on day 1, and you need to tell them that. So you set the standard up front. So when they do show up on day 1, they already know, they've already had their first evaluation. You might want to call it an expectation evaluation, but you've had it in the interview process. You've already set them up. You know, if they're going to be successful, you set them up. So once you hire them on, and then you onboard them, then what next? And that reminds me of another story. My English teacher back when I was in 2nd grade, Miss Tilly, she would say, okay, you guys need to write an essay, or sometimes they call it a theme. And so she'd just say, okay, let me tell you what it's all about. They got an intro. And in the intro, you tell us what you plan on telling us. And then you have the body of the essay. Then you're going to tell us what you said you were going to tell us. And then the conclusion, you tell us what you just told us. What I'm trying to say here, there is no secrets. You lay it all out, so there's no surprises to the employee. You constantly repeat that cycle and telling your new hires exactly what the expectations are. So let's say you're the director and you're hiring the folks, and then you lay out the expectations. You should write down those expectations of what that new hire should be expecting. So when they hit onboarding or they hit training, they're training with a training manager or just a manager in the school, maybe you don't have a training manager, that training manager should have the exact same script. And then they should lay that out, the expectations, the same ones you laid out in the interview. So it's repeat, repeat, repeat. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to set that consistency in. Because if you set the consistency, that becomes your identity, that becomes your culture. So your new hire knows up front that this is real. You know, so if for some reason you have to correct them, they're not surprised. When you go up to them and say, hey, we've told you numerous times what to expect, you know, and this is the way we do work. And so they're not getting caught off guard. You communicated it over and over. Now, the issue is a lot of times we don't do this. The good news is it's not too late. We're going to do it at our PD at the beginning of the year. So I guarantee you there's folks that we didn't set the expectations right. You know, it's the story about, you know, somebody said, when's the best time to plant a tree? And they said 10 years ago. So when's the second best time to plant a tree? Now. So right now, before school starts, you need to get with your team, get with your leadership, and clarify your expectations. Let your team know, hey, we made a mistake. This is on us. We didn't set the expectations, but we want to kick off this year and do better from a performance management standpoint. You know, I've referred to this statement before, and folks will go, well, you know, we've always done it this way. Well, if you're one of those folks that always done it this way, I kind of like to ask you how that's working for you. Again, if you're not inputting your expectations up front with your team, what are you going to get out? You're not going to get anything out on the other end. So now what you need to do is you need to constantly remind that person, whether it's a new employee or a long-term employee, of the expectations over and over and over. So then you hit the review process or evaluation process or whatever you want to call it. I call it the expectation process. So this is when you have that new employee, a long-term employee, and you sit down with them, and this is what you do. You go, you say, this is what I see as the expectations. And then you tell them what you understand of the expectations. And then you turn it around, and then you say, what do you think the expectations are? And what do you understand as the expectations? The issue is this rarely happens. Folks do not like difficult conversations. So a week will pass, a month will pass, a year will pass. And I go back to you're hiring people to work around the people that you don't want to terminate. You don't want to ask that, you know, either coach them up or coach them out. And again, you can't tell me it doesn't happen. It does, because you need to constantly set the stage. Because most employees will leave on their own. because they'll get sick of you driving that culture and those expectations into them over and over and over. And I don't want you to get like, here in Charleston, we have carriage tours, and the horses on the carriage tours have these blinders on, so they can't see left and right, so there's no distractions. And so I think what happens maybe with your managers or yourself is you walk into your kitchen, and maybe that first time you correct that expectation. But then that second time or the third time or the fourth time or fifth time, if somebody does something that's not meeting the expectation, you don't correct them. You don't set them straight. And you need to. On another, while we're on this topic, there are going to be those employees, and it's the majority of them. I'd say 80% of them. They're going to knock it out of the park. They're going to exceed our expectations. You need to make sure that you reinforce and reward their actions. And you can't be bashing your employees all the time with negativity. One, because you lose them, but two, you need to genuinely tell them when they're doing things are right, because that's going to build your bank of goodwill with your employees. I could talk about that for another hour. So once you've got your employees on, when you're hiring somebody, your organization needs to know what the expectations are so they become your salespeople. And I know you're probably going, Walter, I'm not a salesperson. Well, I'm sorry, we all are salesperson. From the time you decide to hire someone, your entire organization needs to be that sales force to retain your staff. I'd rather retain staff than have to go out and find new staff. I'm not saying you don't hold people accountable. You do. And you set the expectations so that everybody needs it, and then they can exceed the expectations. And you also need to realize that your employees don't really need three things. And I got this from John Maxwell. If you ever read John Maxwell, but John Maxwell said your employees need three things. They need to know that you can help them. They need to know that you care about them, and they need to know that they can trust you. And so my question to you, with the employees you're bringing on now, do you in your heart feel like they can do those things, that they care about you, that you can help them, and that they trust you? Performance management should not make you feel guilty when you're setting the expectations, unless you haven't continuously done it. Then it becomes extremely hard to fire somebody if you haven't continually done it. If you've done it, then that person's going to say, yeah, I saw this coming. I've seen this, I got trained this way. It's all my fault. They'll get out of the way and hopefully move on. And now you could do everything right. You could do your hiring right, you do your onboarding right, you do your evaluation right, and you still have that employee hanging around. And that's when real leadership is going to come into place. That's when you have to have the courage to step up in a dignified way and either coach that employee up or coach him out. But I got to repeat that, in a dignified way, because if you do not do that, then your superstars, or maybe your folks in the middle, they'll start acting like that employee that you need to get away from and need to let go of. Or your superstars are going to go, you know what, you're not holding people accountable. I'm going to go find another place to work. And it's much easier to retain people than to find new people. So set the expectation, but set it for everybody. Believe it or not, and usually if you do everything right, then there might be that one employee is not meeting expectations. They're probably miserable too, because they know they're not meeting the expectations. But I know you're out there and you go, Walter, I need 200 new employees. Well, and you goes, I can't let somebody go, because then who's going to replace them? And so I told a story recently, and it begs repeating. Have you ever had that one day where you turn to your team and you had an awesome day, and everybody's worked hard, but you feel energized, and you realize that one person who does not meet the expectations was not there that day? You can do without them. And that reminds me of the story of Steve Harvey, which is perfect for this situation. He tells a story as a leader. You're pulling a wagon up a hill, and you've got this thick rope, you're holding on a ladder, and your team is on the cart, and you're pulling that wagon up the hill. And there's a couple of your team members got their foot up the side of the wagon, and they're pushing the wagon along. A couple of team members jump off the wagon, and they're getting rocks out of the way. And then you might have that superstar, maybe two, that are getting off the wagon, and they're helping you pull that rope, pull that wagon up the hill. And then you can have those folks that are sitting on the back of the wagon, not doing anything. And in some cases, their feet off the wagon, dragging their feet in the dirt. I ask you, did you start the day? You set the expectations. That'll end up lightening your load by getting rid of the people that are dragging their feet and stopping you from getting up that hill. Next slide. Thanks for listening to performance management. So next slide. So here are some quick things and job descriptions. When's the last time you actually read your job description? And does your job description have the expectations in there? Next one. Review your hiring processes. And the one I want to touch on here is interview more often. We, back in October of last year, we decided that we're going to do a open house every Wednesday from 3:30 to 5. The first time I said it, my team said this is not going to work. Now, we stopped really hiring in probably end of March for the rest of that year. This is hard to bring somebody on at the end of the year. But in that time period, we did this every single Wednesday. And folks realized that we had this job fair every Wednesday. There wasn't a week that went by we didn't hire somebody, because folks would come in and maybe they had a hard time filling out the application, and we could help them fill out the application. And then our team knew that we're having this Wednesday job fair, and so they would send people. And then we did, as Donna said, we did give rewards for referrals. Next slide. Okay, you need to understand the process. So from the time that you're interviewing to the time somebody actually starts working, there's a lot of hands in there besides yours. HR's hands are in there, payroll's hands are in there. You need to figure out if there's any way you can make that more efficient. Because right now, you don't want to hire that applicant, and then all of a sudden, 3 weeks down the road, they're not in your system, because then they've gone and they found another job. So actually talk to your HR department, talk to your payroll department. How can we make it smoother? Next slide. Okay, the interview process. Now, I didn't make this slide up, but I think it's quite interesting. The fine finger manipulation test, I don't have time to go over today, but you guys have got to Google this, because it is extremely helpful. But in the interview process, we also do have a test. It's a math test, a computer skill test. It does has DHEC questions in there. You can skip to the next one, because the next slide actually shows the manipulation test. Again, Google this. We're not going to talk about it today, but it really shows when you're watching somebody do this, you know, are they using one hand? Are they using two hands? Are they being efficient? You know, what am I going to have to train them on? So it's another tool in your toolbox. Next one. The interview questions, you know, you can call other districts and say, what are their interview questions, and steal their interview questions, but review your interview questions and make sure they're getting to what you want to get at. And then we'll hire people who do not have food service experience, but it's kind of nice to know what they do know. Next slide, because we actually have the English comprehension in here. We have a hygiene test in here, because you want to ask them, if they don't answer this question, chewing gum can take place in the following locations. I would like to know how they answer that, whether they worked in food services or not. Next slide. And then we do a math test. And it's amazing how many folks have not done a math test in years. And if we keep it very, very simple, I recommend doing it. Again, so we know, that might not mean we don't hire the person. We want to know where their skill set is and where we need to focus on when we hire them. Next. All right, so selection process. So you can't have a matrix, and then you need to decide on where the cutoff is. I know right now, we talked about it before, Walter, I just need people. But you don't want to be in that roller coaster going over and over and over and hiring, and a year from now, you're in the same situation. So set some standards, set a matrix, and maybe you have to go back and adjust it. That's okay. Next one. All right, I'm gonna pass it off to my good friend, Donna. Donna, did I lose you?
I'm so sorry. So you've got them hired and you've got them trained, and the main thing now you have to do is to keep them. So you've got them onboarded, and what do you do? So next slide. So send them an email saying this is when you're going to start. This is your hours. They need specific information. They don't know all the stuff that we need. Where are they supposed to report? Those kinds of things. Next slide. Do an in-service, do an orientation for them, a food service new orientation. Tell them about the work calendar, payroll, time clock, uniform guidelines, food safety, civil rights. You can't just throw them in there and expect them to start swimming. Next slide. I would do day one of training, do several days of training. So the first day, orient them, tell them where the bathrooms are, where's the time clock, who is in charge of payroll, who's in charge, where do they find hairnets, aprons, where's the standard operating procedure notebook. Let them observe lunch. So just start real brief the very first day, or they may run out and not come back. Day two. On day two or day one, make sure you do uniform fitting and get them a district email, make sure they meet with their supervisor and all those kinds of things. That's day two, day three, keep going. Day four, day five, actually let them shadow somebody. Start doing paperwork, start doing point of sale, teach them about reimbursable meals, what are standard operating procedures, ease them into this job. But then retention is the key, and that's what I'm going to focus on the most time here. You've got to keep the morale up for employees, or you're not going to keep them. And it is a hard job. We all know, everybody that's on this call knows what a hard job it is working in school nutrition. So what is morale? The attitude, satisfaction, overall outlook of employees during their association with an organization or business. So let's look at some morale tips. What can we do to our employees to keep them? Give a retention bonus at the end of the year. These last few years have been so hard on all of us. Go to your school board and say, look, I'm having trouble keeping employees. I'm having trouble recruiting employees. How about giving them a retention bonus to come back next year? The next thing I suggest is doing some stuff on the television, bragging about your employees. Tell them that they're getting a pay hike. Tell them about how hard they work. Put them on TV. They love seeing themselves on TV and hearing about how important they are, what a great job that they're doing, and how valuable they have been to your school system. Do a shout out board. You can do this in the cafeteria, in the halls, and you have little cards on there, and you let the school staff sign things and say, I love Donna Martin because blah, blah, blah. I love Walter Campbell because he makes the best cinnamon rolls. I love so-and-so, and just do some little shout outs, have them add shout outs. People love hearing from the kids or the staff about what a great job they're doing. Doesn't cost a thing. Next slide. I love team building activities. They can be so much fun. They may start out thinking, oh, this is not going to be any fun, but I have never done team building activities that the staff didn't get something out of it, that they didn't love it, and that they didn't go back fired up about working together, because that, as Walter said, is a really hard thing to get everybody to work together. And like they say, there's no I in team, there is no I in team. Next slide. I love doing an employee of the month. Isn't this cute? You're an outstanding cookie, and putting the person on there. This is Venice, and she was the employee of the month. And for the whole month, everybody in the school is going to be congratulating her. Doesn't cost a thing. Then you can do the employee of the quarter and the employee of the year, and you can do it at the system-wide banquets and the system-wide meetings, and or in the school at the system-wide staff development or monthly staff meetings or whatever, but keep it going. Go month, quarter, year, all year long. Next slide. You can do a Hunger Hero spotlight on social media. So when you do have these employees of the month, make sure you recognize them on social media. Put them in your Instagram, put them on Facebook, take their pictures. Don't just let the school know, let the whole world know, and then they can post it and share it with their family and their friends, and there's so much pride in that. Also, do an end of the year banquet. And so they don't have to cook. They cook all year long for every school event. Give them a break. Do a banquet and have somebody else come in and cook for them and wait on them and serve them, and they will feel so special. Do shout outs on social media, and it doesn't necessarily need to be like an employee of the month or something, but I love this one. Who is the woman in school nutrition that inspires you? And put the picture of the person that inspires you. So maybe the principal does this, or the school nutrition manager does this, or you get employees to do it, or the school nutrition director. This doesn't cost a thing, but do a shout out to maybe you saw somebody doing something great. I love this, that this Ohio did a thing on thanking all the school lunch heroes in the state, and they put pictures of them. And don't you know that those school lunch heroes in Ohio felt very special? That the Ohio Department of Education did this for them. It didn't cost anything, but it sure made them all feel special. And this, a school nutrition did, it spotlighted not just the person, but spotlighted her entire family. And don't you know that she felt very, very special, that she shared this with everybody, and that her grandkids felt so special that she was a school nutrition spotlight. Next slide. This is something Walter Campbell did. He did a tweet. He tweeted out this employee that was retiring, and he took pictures of her and tweeted it out. And don't you know that that was so special to her? And she recognized her friend, and that everybody thinks, I want to work for Walter Campbell. He does special things for us. Next slide. So this is a school nutrition. Give each district or each lunchroom that you have their own media page, so they can post their own pictures of when they're dressing up, or when it's employee of the month or whatever. So if you can have your own media page, let them post pictures of the beautiful food and a kid eating food. Let them brag about themselves. Next slide. Celebrate employee birthdays. You may do it once a month, or if you only have 8 employees, you may do it on their birthday, but you can do a bulletin board that says when their birthdays are. Make sure you celebrate them, because they may not get celebrated at home, but that is something special, and it's a real camaraderie thing. It's a real team building thing. And then everybody in the school maybe put a hat on them or something that says it's their birthday. So when the kids come through the serving line, they'll say, "Happy birthday, Walter." Just recognizing them, it'll make them feel special. Recognize them at a board meeting. Take them to a board meeting and say, this is School Nutrition Employee Day. Take them and bring them all in, recognize them, recognize your employees of the month at the board meeting. That will make them feel so special. And then the school board will know exactly what your employees are doing. They'll know who they are. They'll speak to them when they're in the lunchroom. That's an easy thing to do, but I think very powerful. Next slide. Give them a time off pass. I love it when I get a 15-minute off pass or a 30-minute off pass. Sometimes at Christmas time, the superintendent will give us all a 30-minute off time pass for free. I love that. Maybe going through the kitchen and seeing somebody doing something right. Give them a take a break, give them a 15-minute, or give them a day off with pay pass. Wow, that would be so meaningful, and they would love you for that. Have school administrators serve on the line. School administrators have no idea how hard your staff work, but when they come in and serve on the line, it gives them a greater appreciation. And then when they're coming through the line, they're not going to sit there and nitpick. Can I have that piece of chicken in the back? They'll know how hard a job you have, but it'll also give your staff a break. Next slide. Buy them t-shirts. They love t-shirts, and you can do this with your school nutrition budget because you can count it as a uniform. So I bought my employees COVID-19 essential staff and Rosie the Riveter t-shirts and things like that. Buy them t-shirts. They love a t-shirt. Also, you can buy them jackets. So after the pandemic, I bought all my staff that worked through the pandemic every day when all the teachers were home and we were at work every day. I bought them a jacket with Rosie the Riveter patches in Burke County, and they were so proud. I even had some guys that worked for us who were not lunch ladies, and they said, I still want a lunch lady jacket. They love the jacket. Again, part of the uniform, you can pay for it with your lunch money. Next slide. Do an incentive bonus. So if you're working short, like if you're working 25% short in the kitchen for X number, like a whole week, then give them some extra money in their paycheck. If you can't get subs and you're working short, they're not going to mind working short so much when they get that extra money in their paycheck, and it's cheaper than hiring a sub. Inexpensive gifts. I love this one. During the pandemic, somebody gave their staff toilet paper, which was in short supply, and a lotto ticket. Although I would not want any of my employees to win the lottery because then they'd leave me. But I think that was a fun thing to do. this cookies, your cookie and this popcorn, just little inexpensive things that you can do for your staff that just don't cost a whole lot, but are very meaningful. Also, school branded items. Now, these you can't buy with school nutrition money, but if there's some money, the PTA can help you buy these items. They love marketing stuff and getting trinkets and stuff like that. They don't typically cost a whole lot of money, but they mean a lot to them. Student thank you notes. You know, during the pandemic, this happened a lot, but I think it needs to happen all year long. And maybe you pick different classes every week or a different grade or whatever, and they write thank you notes to your staff. And that means a lot to find out that the kids, you know, I love your carrot souffle. I love your macaroni and cheese, or I love your chicken nuggets or whatever. Thank you, thank you, thank you notes. And the kids are happy to do it, and your staff will be very happy to receive them, or your teachers. Having theme days. People love dressing up. So I love some of these. This is a Frozen theme day, a disco boogie theme day in the upper right hand corner, a superheroes day, a football team, wear your favorite football team, dress up as your favorite football team. But what kind of theme days? Get out of those uniforms, do something fun. The kids love it and the staff love it. Next slide. Have holiday dress up at Christmas and Halloween. Everybody really gets into the spirit, and these are some great costumes that people did, but having holiday dress up and Dr. Seuss dress up days are easy, inexpensive, fun things for your staff to do. Buy them lunch. Just go buy them pizza, buy them some chicken, buy them sandwiches. Every now and then, buy them lunch. Again, nobody makes lunch for them. Nobody cooks for them. Buy them lunch. They'll love it. And you can usually do that with your school nutrition funds if you do it with some training or something. Sweet treats. How cute are these cookies? Never underestimate Lunch Lady, who survived 2020 coronavirus pandemic. That's right. Never underestimate your staff. Bring in some donuts, bring in some Danish, bring them a cookie. Fill up their buckets. Put up a bulletin board in the lunchroom with all your employees' names, and then have each employee in the kitchen say nice things about each other. So say something nice about, oh, thank you for helping me today, or thank you for showing me how to make rolls. Be a bucket filler upper. Your super school lunch hero day at the end of the year, and make sure you celebrate them. Make sure you know the whole school know that it's Lunch Lady Day, Superhero Day, and do something to celebrate them. You ever caught out doing good coupons? When I'm walking through the kitchen and I see somebody cleaning and sanitizing or taking temperatures, give them a little coupon that says, I saw you doing this today. Reinforce all the positive things. You got caught doing something good, and maybe give them 15 minutes off. Have the state director or some state staff come in to recognize your staff. They love seeing the big brass come in. Post those fabulous sanitation scores and those school nutrition serve safe certificates with those wonderful, amazing scores. Nominate employees for school nutrition awards. There's employee and manager awards, director awards. Nominate your staff. Who knows? They may win. Invest in your staff and training. Do computer camp training, culinary camp training, manager training, any kind of refresher training. When you invest in them and teach them new skills, they feel valued and want to keep coming back. And that's it. And I think we have time for questions. Summer, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Well, thank you. Holy moly, that was so much incredible information. I took down a couple of notes because I just couldn't help myself. Coach them up or coach them out. That needs to be in a bumper sticker, I think, or a t-shirt. That is pretty darn handy. Those time off passes, the great cookies, so many ways to find employees and to retain employees and just make them feel special and honor them. Oh, this was fantastic. So the questions that were in the Q&A have already been answered. Thank you, Walter, for being ahead of the game there. So folks, if you have anything, I mean, we have a ton of information in this webinar, but if you have any questions or just want to follow up on anything that you heard today, now is the time. Please type it into the Q&A box. I noticed we did have in the chat, Walter, when you were speaking, someone wrote in, can someone repeat that? You had said, Walter, state expectations ask employee to repeat, et cetera, et cetera. Do you remember exactly what you said?
Right. So it's kind of like another evaluation. So you yourself set the expectation. You said, this is what the expectation is. And you tell them how you understand those expectations. And then the employee, you say, okay, what do you think the expectations are? And how do you understand those expectations? So you find out whether or not you're even on the same page.
Yeah, it's really a communication tool to make sure they're hearing you, they're receiving it correctly, and then everyone is on the same page. Otherwise, you're not going to get the employee that you met on day one, like you were saying, Walter. You want the same employee showing up as you hired. Yes, someone had asked if you can get a copy. Yes, Chelsea saying this webinar is recorded. It's also going to be on our Center for Best Practices website, where all of our webinars live, where you can have access at any point in time. And the PowerPoint presentation will be included in that, so that way you can download the slides and see all of this amazing information and all of these tricks of the trade here. This is so helpful, wonderful. I'm just reading the chat right now.
I wondered if anybody had any tips that we didn't share, if they do something that we didn't share, maybe if somebody wanted to put it in the chat box or whatever, because there may be something out there that we didn't think of.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that there's rock stars all across the country doing incredible work. And so I'm sure there's more stuff that we can learn. So please add in your own tips and tricks and add to this great list that we learned about today.
I had one thing that we do, and there's a sign outside my door and it says build trust. And so one thing that we do to build trust, and we started this last year, is every Friday we have an 8-minute meeting. And it's an 8-minute Zoom meeting. So all of our managers are on the Zoom meeting, their staff can sit in on the Zoom meeting. It's just 8 minutes because we know we can get their attention for 8 minutes. And we fill them in on what's going on in the district, and then we give them some type of inspiring words at the end. But we do, what Donna was mentioning, birthdays too. We do birthdays all the time. So, and the 8-minute meeting works. And Donna, if you want to know, my birthday is Friday.
I'm going to call you.
Happy early birthday, Walter. That's exciting. So somebody, Erica Vines, put in the chat, I came to school nutrition from corporate America, and we used to take our managers and their spouse out for once a year for a dinner. Yep, it's a good one. Yep. Oh, we have great ones. Last year, our office decorated each kitchen for Christmas. Kathy Conrad says, keep them coming. These are great. These are great.
Great.
And I also have a question for Donna and Walter, because you honor your employees so much. You're very good about thinking outside of the box and doing that and using all kinds of ways. So how do you all take breaks? How do you honor yourselves? Because it's a lot to be the leader. It's a lot to run the show. What do you all do?
You get up at 3:30 in the morning. That's what you do.
Yeah, we both are early morning risers. We both get up and exercise before we come to work. And I think that is a way of I always take care of me first. And so when I've exercised, and this morning I walked 5 miles before I came to work, and I've taken care of me before I come to work, so that I can enjoy the rest of the day and not worry about exercising and that kind of stuff. And the way I take care of myself also is I eat the delicious school lunch every single day. And I think what a blessing to get all these great fruits and vegetables every single day. And when I retire, I'm never going to be able to get all this great food every day. Walter, what do you do?
What's my key? At 4:15 in the morning is my time. I'm out there running at 4:15 in the morning. So you need to have time for yourself. Or it's kind of refueling. I don't think people are people are on tired. When you're tired, you go to sleep. But I think people are depleted, and they need to get out and take care of themselves. Because kind of go what Donna said, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. So build that time in your day to take care of yourself. When does Walter sleep?
It's a great question. It's a great question.
Okay, so I go to bed about 9 or 10 o'clock. Probably should get more sleep. So that's a downfall. I probably should get more sleep, but yeah.
Well,
Go ahead, Summer.
No, go ahead.
I would say they put in here, we also used to host a family and friends day, and then they would make it like a carnival style. So I love that. And then the $25, they gave them a lunch here day, gave them $25 on their account to use to buy their own snacks. I love that idea. I'm going to steal that idea. I'm going to do that for my staff this year.
Yeah, these are fun. And Kathy Conrad says we've also hired from special needs schools. Oh, and a wine glass. Let's see, I couldn't add a photo, but it was a wine glass with after school snack on it. That's really cute. That's really cute.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it could be something simple. It can be simple as putting candy together and delivering it. We surprised our entire team one time. We the night before, say, oh, left school. So we put all this candy together. And I know it's not the healthiest thing, but we put a note that we all signed. And then we went to all 80 schools that afternoon. So the next morning when they got there, it was sitting there. So then they cared about them.
I also talk about a good friend of mine did this moniker called Grace, and she's been sharing it, and I've been sharing it with everybody, that everybody in this webinar needs to think about to have grace. And grace stands for G, gratitude that we all have a job, and we had a job throughout the pandemic. R being for resiliency, that we have made it through the pandemic, we're on the other side of it, and we're still fighting. A for attitude and acceptance. Accept that this is what it is. Have a good attitude and keep right on going. C was for cooperation and creativity. We have all been so creative. When you look at all the things everybody does to hire staff, that's very creative. And E for expectations and efficiency. We have been very efficient in what we've done. So just keep that moniker in mind, Grace, that we all need to be grateful for what we have and that we've come a long way and we can make it. We can make it.
That's great. That is so great. Great. And have you all been doing this stuff before the pandemic? I'm wondering what really came into play because of COVID, or were you doing this stuff way before COVID too?
I wasn't doing it as much before COVID. I think when my employees were going through COVID, I went to the school board and I got them a $10 an hour raise to just a bonus if they came in and worked, because I had a lot of employees who wouldn't work because they were health compromised or had to take care of grandchildren, whatever. So for my employees that did come work, I gave them a $10 hazardous duty pay. And I just really appreciated what they had done. And then I think the kids in the community so much more appreciated them. The school board appreciated them. The teachers appreciated them. So I think they've gotten appreciation like they've never gotten before. They became rock stars, kind of like what happened after 9/11 when the policemen and the firemen became rock stars. School nutrition employees became rock stars because the teachers were going, thank you for feeding my kids when they're home, my babies, and so we've done a lot more because of the pandemic, definitely.
I think the biggest thing we've done in the last 2 years, and there's some little things, because again, we want to make sure that the employees know that you care about them, you can help them, and they can trust you. But probably the biggest thing we've done is, and I'm sure Donna's this way, we have been in schools. I mean, but I've been in schools more in the last 2.5 years. And I was probably in schools before, and really being there, not doing drive-bys, not wearing blinders on, but getting in there and work with the staff side by side. And it means a lot to them.
It's a good point that I didn't bring up. They love it when you come in and work with them, and you help unload a truck or do something, and they go like, "You can't do that." Yes, I can. Watch me. So they
when you take a picture with them, and you take a picture with them, you put it on social media. It is amazing how many of their friends will start liking it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it means something to them.
Yeah, it's special. Well, we are right at time. We're at the last 30 seconds. So I want to send a huge thank you and so much positive energy to Walter and Donna and everyone who attended today. This was incredible. Like we said, we will have this presentation. We will send out via email, and it will also live on the Center for Best Practices website, so you can take a look at this at any time. Thank you again. This is amazing. We are honored by you being here and honored for everyone for all of the amazing work that you've been doing this whole time and will continue to do. All right. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.